Hey everybody, good morning. Thanks for tuning in again this morning. Listen, Psalm chapter 32 verses 1 and 2. I'm excited about this. These are some favorite verses, but I haven't thought about them in a long time, but I love these verses. And here's what I want to say to you before I even read them and begin to explain them. If you truly want to find well, I've been kind of talking about joy. This verse doesn't really talk about joy, so to speak, but it talks about the blessing of God. It talks about being blessed by God. If you really want to have a life that's blessed, because I'm going to tell you, a life that's blessed will produce joy. And if you really want to find that blessing that produces joy in your life, ultimately, first and foremost, the starting place where it all begins is you have to start with being forgiven. You have to start with experiencing the forgiveness of God that He has offered in His Son Jesus, as Jesus died on the cross, paying for our sin, was buried, and rose again the third day. And that gospel and response to that, and truly making that mine, brings me God's forgiveness and the blessing and the joy. This verse says this. It says, "Blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered, and to whom the Lord does not impute iniquity." That's Psalm 32, verses 1 and 2. Three different words for sin in this that I want to point out. First thing he says is, "Blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven." Transgression is when you knowingly, willingly, and deliberately break the law. It's when you knowingly, willingly, and deliberately do what you know God does not want you to do. It's when you don't do what you know God does want you to do. It's when you are driving down the road and you see the speed limit sign that says speed limit 65 and you decide, you know what, I'm going to go 80 because I want to. It's knowingly, willingly, and deliberately. It's crossing over the fence that's right by the sign that says no trespassing. And the reason you do it is because the best fishing in the county is on the other side of that fence. Knowingly, willingly, deliberately, breaking God's law. He says, "Blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven." You see, God, through his son Jesus, forgives our transgression. You see, Jesus has become the sacrifice that pays for our sin. And then he says, "and whose sin is covered." The word sin here means missing the mark. It's like shooting a bow at a target and shooting your arrow, and the arrow misses the bullseye. And see, the truth is, no matter how hard I try, I will never live up to God's standard. I do try, and I want to, and I desire to be who God wants me to be. But I will always miss the mark. I will always miss the bullseye. But that missing of the bullseye, that sin, it's covered. It's covered by the blood of Christ, which means that God doesn't see it. God doesn't see that I missed the mark. He sees the blood of Christ as his blood removes our sin. And then it said, "And blessed is he, and blessed is the man to whom the Lord does not impute iniquity." The word iniquity means crooked. And here's the deal. There is something inside of me that's crooked. I was born with a crookedness. I was born a sinner. I was born with a nature that does not want to be who God wants me to be. I have a default. I have a fault inside of me. I have a defect inside of me, and it is this iniquity and this crookedness. But God does not hold that to my account. He does not hold that to my account because the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus was enough to satisfy his judgment upon all my sin. Blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered, and blessed is the man to whom the Lord does not impute iniquity. You want to find joy and blessed life? Find the forgiveness of God in the gospel of Jesus Christ. Love you guys. Hey, I almost preached. I just kind of preached right there, didn't I? Yeah. God bless you guys. Love you. Get out there in faith today.